History of the Yoda Saber. This has been something that's been going on for a while. What happened to Yoda's Saber? Yoda supposedly destroyed when he went and fought the Emperor. Right here in the battle in episode 3. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that button, Screen Fame fans, as we get into it. Star Wars has given us a lot. Spoiler warning for those who have not seen Boba Fett. We're going to explode all of it. Grogu is training with Luke in the woods, just like in Yoda and Empire Strikes Back. No Saber. Let's get to that. As he presents it to Goku, we had a throwback to the Empire Strikes Back. Of course, we had a throwback to the Empire. But looking at the entire scope, how did Luke become in possession of that saber? When we know during this duel is the last time we've seen Yoda with this saber. When he fought the Emperor. Now, at no time did we see Yoda with this saber when he was training in Empire. So how did Luke come in possession of Yoda's saber? Well, people are very confused because they take the comic books and they take everything at face value. And I'm here to tell you that Yaddle is not the one, that's not his lightsaber. Master Yaddle, that's not her. Remember they had a female Yoda there and that Grogu is their kid. They think that's Yoda and Yaddle's child. I don't think that's the case. Child's father, I am not. So the issue comes from the comics. Because there is a comic book in which this is where it shows after Vader became who he was, they had to make him a red lightsaber. Now, there is no red crystal. The only way you can get it is the crystal have to be corrupted. So you have to get a corrupted kyber crystal. See, as you can see here, they took all the lightsabers from the Jedi, put them all into the furnace, and let them burn. As the Jedi era was over, and their lightsabers would be burned. And in this comic book, you see Yoda's saber. And they took Yoda's saber from the comics and destroyed it. Now, as far as this goes, it's different. Meaning that what you saw in the comic books is not canon. The comic books are their own lives. What has been shown on the screen is canon. So the theory is, and this is the truth, Luke got it from Yoda. When Yoda passed away, it was in his box, and Yoda got it. I mean, Luke got it once Yoda passed. Yoda had no longer a purpose from it, but during his fight with the Emperor, or Darth Sidious, and when he dropped it, it is canon now that Yoda recovered his lightsaber or summoned it back to him before he left and retreated. So this is now canon. And since he was in exile, he didn't feel he needed any lightsaber to defend himself. So his lightsaber was put into a box. Now we'll get to Cad Bane later. But we need to stick to this. Because right now, Grogu is not in a position to hold that lightsaber. His hands are too small to even grip it. So when Yoda escaped Coruscant and went into exile, in the Dagobah system, where he remained till he passed away. Luke builds a new temple. He has all the Jedi archives that was in this hut that belonged to Yoda. This is where he got his books and the knowledge and everything that he needed. He got here, including that box that had the lightsaber. And as the light died, so did everything belonging to Luke. Well, I mean, Yoda. Now, what does this mean moving forward? That is the greater question. What is this lesson that is teaching us about Yoda and Star Wars and everything that's taking place right now? Where he's given him the option, the lightsaber or the Mandalorian gift. For me, I recognize this right away because I've seen it before. And it was one of my favorite movies of all time, growing up as a kid, The Shogun Assassin. In other words, it's called Lopine Wolf in other countries, but Liquid Swords and everything was based on it. The jizz is out. As the Shogun Assassin was one of our like favorite movies. It was completely gory, but it was the same scene. And this is Luke based off this scene. Choose the sword and you join me. Choose the ball and you join your mother in death. And as a young baby who don't understand what's going on, this is where they got the scene from. So that's where they got the scene from. Choose the sword and you join me. Choose the ball and you join your mother in death. I know you don't understand my words. Come, boy. Choose life or death. It's a very powerful thing. Now, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Sino, that's messed up. Only a Sith deals in absolute. This is a different scenario. This isn't absolute. This is giving a choice of direction. Because if we continue down the path of where Grogu is going to go, then he will not make it. He will not make it. He will not be able to rest because he will always be thinking about the Mandalorian. They have created such a bond. Yeah, well, Mando and Baby Yoda or Grogu, their bond is like the Shogun assassin and his child. They're being hunted, and they want the child though. Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance. It was called the different names, but when it came to America, it was the Shogun Assassin, the full movie. I used to have a VHS. Beans got it and never returned it. He got my Bruce Lee book. I'll just buy another one. Oh yeah, well you gotta look at Look at the scenarios. You got to look at why is some of these things actually taking place. The Mandalorian's been good, period, because they have great character development. When you have great character development, you're looking at a situation where the characters fit your dynamic. In other words, Luke Skywalker has never been in a situation where we got to see him be the Jedi. Only Return of the Jedi did we see a glimpse of how powerful Luke was. And he really hadn't just got there yet. He's just really was at the peak of his skills where he had surpassed his father. His father was older and weak. The book of Boba Fett is connected to the Mandalorian. They're one story altogether, but the book of Boba Fett had to go back to show what happened from Return of the Jedi to now, which they basically have done. So now you see where he is. He's taking control of where he used to work. Now he's like, look, I'm not going to work for anybody anymore. I'm going to be a boss. So now he's a boss, but he's a man with money, and he has, from all his bounty hunting, he has Republican credits that can go back. He's rich, in other words. He's got money from all the stuff he had beforehand. That's why he says, I got the money. I don't have the muscle. He don't have the people, the security. So they're going to get the muscle. They're going to get people. So now it's time to bridge in the Mandalorian story because it would be so long of a wait that we would have to wait until Mandalorian season 3, which isn't coming out till next year. So when people heard season 3 is going to be a year away, people were like pissed off because after seeing Luke Skywalker show up and get Grogu, everybody wanted to see what would happen. Now you're seeing that in the Boba Fett series. So it's not so long of a wait when you see season 3 come next year. About time that come, but you got to understand, you got Ahsoka coming, her series, which is going to have Ezra is supposed to come here and be a surprise character. You're going to have not just that, it's a whole lot of list of things that's going on that's going to kind of introduce Rebels. They talked about doing an old Republic film. This is crazy. Looking at myself on the big screen. I'm look at myself. That's crazy in real time. See how nuts that is gonna look. I'm like, man, I need a shave. I need everything. Well, to understand it all is to understand the story. Nothing is canon in the cartoons. Only when it hits the live action will it be canon. The story of the Black Saber, how it can only, you got to use your mind and all of that to control it, all of that has been created here. The Black Saber has to be won in combat. All of that has been created here, not canon in the animated series. So even though the characters are, but what you're getting here, then it is canon. Once it hits the screen, it is now canon. So forget what you saw in the comic books, forget what you saw everywhere else. Well, the problems ensue over and over again because you're surrounded by individuals who have their own identity. But when you got Dave Filoni and then you have um, John Favreau involved, they understood the process. So they brought the guys over from Rebels who kept the young generation involved in Star Wars and said, why don't we let them make the Star Wars series because they have the idea of what it's like. We're trying to make Star Wars appealing to adults by getting adults who don't understand what canon and story means to the fans. You know, let's not get J.J. Abrams to try to tell us because they grew up watching Star Wars when they were a kid, that doesn't mean they understand Star Wars today. Star Wars is about creating the new. What about the future? What about other characters, other stories? It's not about just let's stay connected to Luke and everything else. It's the other stories. Star Wars was about a story. Everything, like the characters happen to come along throughout story. Once they went away from story and went to characters like they did in the new series, it lost its identity. As in, the Rise of Skywalker, that disaster had set them back because they cared so much about character rather than story. Now, where does this go for them? I don't think Grogu stays one to complete his training. I think he goes with the Mandalorian. There's no way he will be able to survive. And for good reason. You got to look at it from all angles and perspectives. You're looking at the turn of a new age. People want to see what's next, what's new. They love stories, and people loved Rebels, and they didn't understand that. These young kids now are now teenagers and grown, and they grew up watching Rebels. And what Rebels did and what the Clone Wars did was basically lay a foundation so that they can make live action. The work has already been done. All you have to do is really follow suit to what had already transpired. So the hard work was already done, creating these characters and making people interested in them, like they did in Rebels, and connected in canon to where it makes sense. So now, when you introduce people like Ezra and find out where he is in this situation, then you will find out it makes sense. And Ahsoka still being alive and wasn't taken out by Darth Vader and saved in Rebels, she got just absorbed and taken out at a different time. And then you get to see Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then we get to see Thrawn back in his position. But now that the Empire has fallen, where would this leave Thrawn? Yeah. Oh, Cad Bane? Well, Cad Bane is back. But again, we got to know how much of his story is going to be canon. We know he's here, and most of us who knows his story knows how he connects to the Star Wars, the whole realm of him, you know, doing what he's doing with, let's say, Boba. Because the thing was, he wanted to be the main guy, and Jango Fett, and he wanted to be the one to kill these guys to say, I'm the guy. He trained Boba, supposedly showing him all this stuff because he used to be with Jango, his dad. But he was training him so that Boba could be one of the top bounty hunters in the world after Jango died. But he was only training him so he could kill him. So, because he want to be number one, but he needs that adversary. He want people to believe Boba's number one so he could take him out and be that guy. That's why when you see that dent in Boba Fett's helmet, that's from supposedly from Cad Bane. They both shot each other. They did a duel and shot each other in the head. Boba was knocked out from the blast, and Cad Bane had to get some attachment put on his head because of it. Now that's what happened during the series, but I'm quite sure that Mace Windu was still alive somewhere in this series, but we don't know yet. But we never saw him die. And in Star Wars, we've seen Jedi fall from different feats or whatever. But once the Order was destroyed, you knew he would go into hiding and wouldn't be around and couldn't be trusted, as he saw himself betrayed by Anakin Skywalker, who became Darth Vader. And he was the one that sensed it right before it happened. Boba was ruthless for a very long time, but Well, it's starting off slow, but I like it. We'll get there though eventually. But yeah, I'm liking where the direction is going right now. But the next episode should be even more impactful because we get to see what happened with Baby Yoda's decision, and when he joined, I believe he's going to join the Mandalorian. What's going to actually happen then when he's back with the Mandalorian? What's the plan next? Like, who's going to be the next enemy and challenge? Because the Empire is not just going to sit back, because the Empire is still operating in the shadows. As you can see, they're still trying to forge what will probably be Snoke. So Snoke looked like he's being formed as of now. So they're going to supposedly make sense of Snoke as his character changed from what he was going to be to the monstrosity we saw in The Rise of Skywalker, where we just brought back characters to try to sell the movie because we knew we had a steaming bunch of crap. Bunch of good ideas, just they weren't ready to go in that direction. They brought George Lucas on to try to supervise and didn't use anything that he brought to the table. So it was like completely a waste. So on that note, I'm out. I got to get ready and get out of here. So let me get up, get dressed, and get out of here. Got to go shave the whole nine. Thanks, Screen Fiend fans. I'm out.